about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So still very troubling, which happened weeks ago, was the fact that Gene Hackman, iconic actor, Oscar winner, brilliant artist, was found dead and had been dead for a while, as well as his wife in another room for possibly weeks, partially mummified. And investigators are still trying to figure out what exactly happened. We believe that his wife had died first, Betsy Arakawa, but because Gene Hackman possibly suffered from cognitive deficits, he didn't know. And then his heart stopped, and they found him next to his phone hat near the entryway of the mudroom, while his wife was, I believe, found in the bathroom. And so investigators are looking a little deeper to what could have been surrounding the last few days or hours of either of them being alive. And so they are looking at emails, phone calls, internet searches. And one thing they've revealed is that his wife, Betsy, was scouring the internet for information that was related to breathing, flu-like symptoms, feeling ill. Now, she allegedly died from hantavirus, a rare rodent-borne illness. It could cause flu-like illness, headache, dizziness, severe respiratory distress, and we could get exposed by being exposed to rodents, rat droppings, etc. Gene Hackman is believed to have died a week later of heart disease or complications from Alzheimer's. So Gene Hackman was 95 years old. Arakawa, his wife, 65 years old, were found February 26th in their Santa Fe home. Now, according to a report released yesterday, a review of Arakawa's computer showed she was actively searching medical conditions related to COVID and flu-like symptoms. And this started February 8th. Now, remember, they were found February 26th. So about 3 weeks prior, she was searching for those sorts of, before they were found, illnesses. So we're assuming they were sick, or at least she was sick, the week of February 8th. They also found searches the morning of February 12th. And some of the searches included questions about whether COVID could cause dizziness or nosebleeds. And she had in an email to her masseuse that Gene Hackman had woken up February 11th with flu and cold-like symptoms, but that a COVID test was negative, and she would have to reschedule her appointment for the next day out of abundance of caution. You also saw the wife's search history look at a concierge medical service in Santa Fe the morning of February 12th. When they looked at her phone records, it appears she had a call with the service that lasted less than 2 minutes and then missed a return call later that afternoon. Now, we're not entirely sure what day she could have died, but that could have been, sadly, the day she died. Investigators also reviewed a call history to the Hackman's home phone, along with voicemails and security footage from stores that Arakawa had visited on February 11th. Authorities also released more redacted police body camera footage from inside the home as sheriff's deputies and investigators are trying to piece together what's going on. And this is being reported by CNN. So, no signs of forced entry. There was no burglary. Their art collection and other adorning items not missing. They ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning early on. They were concerned about a possible gas leak, but they found no gas leak. And you could see cash, prescription medication. So it doesn't look like somebody broke in. But it's interesting how you could look back, and it's tragic that both of them lost their lives and at separate times and couldn't have gotten the help that they needed early on until they were found weeks later, already decomposing. But, our internet searches is something that people have been talking about to make more public in a way, to see if that could be a way to alert others that somebody is ill and being able to then check on them. I am not a fan of losing any privacy. If you want to look up, gonorrhea symptoms or look up UTI symptoms, you should have the privacy to do so. But there's this big call for how to help individuals that don't have help. Many individuals are worried that they are going to die in their own bathroom or in their own home, or they'll fall. Nobody will be there to help them, and then they'll die of starvation. And because nobody is being alerted. Now, we have these health alert bracelets and necklaces and watches and ways to contact 911 if we're competent and cognitively functioning. But if we pass out, or if we're in a coma or anything else, or if we've sustained head trauma, we can't. And I don't know what the answer is, because I don't want to die alone. I don't want to be stuck and stranded. I want to know that somebody could be alerted. But on the other end, it's just too much of an intrusion in your privacy for everything you search for. Now, and my concern is if I'm looking at Michael Fassbender or whatever, it's going to really confuse whoever the health authorities are. But there's a lot we could learn from somebody's history. And, it's interesting because we medical providers get trained. I don't know if the training is as rigorous now as it was for me, but to really sift through lies, colloquialisms, trying to, shall we say, cover things up, rewording. We learned how to sift through that so we could really get an accurate history on somebody. And now it's, fill out the buttons, click the boxes. We're going to use AI to make a paragraph of that. And there's not a lot of there's not a lot of interrogation. There's not a lot of we would do it nicely as physicians to kind of understand what could be going on with somebody. Well, maybe their truth is lying in their internet searches, and we could find out more about what their medical history could be. It's just we have to figure out how to protect privacy. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Sweet strawberry icing. You were strolling along in goodwill when just past that mid-century side table and denim jacket you spotted them, nestled in their display case. Miniature donut earrings. Oh, yes! Yes! Your favorite half-breakfast pastry, half-all-day dessert food, made into your favorite form of ear candy. Oh my. Those bejeweled sprinkles have satisfied some unknown hunger within you. Shh, do you smell that? That's the sugary scent of shopping success. For this is Goodwill. And with every item you buy, you fund local job training and more. So go forth. Bring home those donut earrings. And bring home so much good to your community. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So as apparently people are already getting ready for the midterms. I mean, the midterms aren't till like 2026, but there's a lot of back and forth as to what the future of America needs, the future of the Democratic Party, the future of the Republican Party. And Yale did a poll looking at youths, and they found some very interesting results. They found that younger individuals are overwhelmingly Republican or turning Republican. Now, this is something that we haven't seen in decades, because usually the younger individuals are the ones who like to, be more progressive, not embrace outdated customs or outdated ideologies. They don't want to be their mothers or grandmothers or grandfathers, have that same thinking. And so it's oftentimes that the youths are like, look, we could do it better. We know better. We're going to change the world. And so they end up falling more in the past Democrat, being a more progressive party. However, in this poll done by Yale, they say that voters age 18 to 21 lean Republican by 11.7 points when asked who they would support in the 2026 congressional elections. Now, what's very significant about that number is, one, leading by 11.7 points. That's not a small margin. Number two is, we don't even know who the people are that's running. And the fact that the youth, who usually would buck the idea of, I'm just going to vote R, I'm just going to vote D. You would think that the youth are like, well, I'm going to see who the person is. I'm going to make a decision based on that person. The fact that they overwhelmingly are like, I'm going to be leaning Republican is really telling. And in terms of where politics are going. Now, when you looked at 22 to 29-year-olds, Democrats were favored by 6.4 points. But the 18 to 21s, the younger individuals, and you could say these are the ones affected by COVID in high school. There's a lot of theories as to why this might have happened. But apparently the conservative shift among Gen Zs and younger Gen Zs is something that a lot of people are kind of studying as to why. Well, what did it? Was it the vaccine mandates? Was it not being able to go back to school? Was it them feeling that their youth was robbed, their prom, their graduations, because of the more stricter Democratic cities, as opposed to Florida being reopened? Is it that, and actually I've spoken to, I'm around a lot of Gen Zs because I lecture to students. I'm around a lot of college students, and I'm around a lot more of them than I am probably more Gen Xs. I probably speak to more Gen Zs than I do Gen Xs these days. And one person was telling me that they grew up being scared that they're either going to be, shall we say, accused of sexist assault, racism, something. And so in school, the teachers were very, very, the teachings were very restrictive to them, where they felt like if they didn't do all these things they had to do, that they were going to get in trouble. And this student told me she and a bunch of other students, and she's a female, so not technically not as at risk in the Me Too movement as others, but she's like, we can't keep being told we're wrong, or we're doing something wrong, or we're something we're not. And we want to feel more freedom. And I didn't, I wasn't in class as a Gen Z. I mean, my school days ended in the 90s. And in the 90s, yeah, there might have been some politics, but for the most part, it was learning our biology, learning our chemistry, learning our medicine. But here, so much of the emphasis is on how you are wrong or how you are entitled or how, even though, yes, we do have to know our history and how unfair and how horrible we were to other demographics and individuals that we're living with now, what they and their ancestors went through. We do have to teach that, and we do have to have that understanding so we never repeat history again, or history never repeats. But I didn't know that many Gen Zs feel like they were always in the wrong just by the way they were born. And they look at the Republican Party as allowing them to be more free. Now, that's interesting because that's not what the media is saying. The media is making it sound like the Republicans are infringing on everybody's rights. But when you look at polls like this, I have a lot of friends and family who are both Democrats and Republicans. And, being moderate and more centrist, I look at things, I lean right on some things, I lean left on others, but, none of the extremes. And we could reach a lot of common ground. And there's, one, I think this person was millennial age, was saying the big mistake the Democrats made is you couldn't have any other opinions. If you didn't agree with everything they said, there was no room for you in the party. And this was a millennial who was thinking about leaving the Democratic Party. They said there was no there. I couldn't say, well, what about this? What about that? No, you had to align directly or you're out. Well, people want some more flexibility. And James Carville, I think, was talking about how progressives might need to, the progressives and the Democrats might need to split, figure out what they want to do, and then meet later after the elections. But there's and maybe the Democrats are going to split into two separate parties. That could happen. The Republicans could split into two separate parties. Right now, the main parties are Republican, Democrat, and then you have Independent, and there's Green Party, etc. But maybe, if somebody feels like they don't have a home or a community or that thinking isn't aligned with them, they're going to go elsewhere, even if they don't agree with everything the other individuals stand for. And so the psychology of the voter is something we talk a lot about on this show, because a lot of people who run for office, or a lot of the ways the Republicans or Democrats run campaigns, they aren't thinking about voter psychology. People don't want to be scared. People don't want to be canceled. If you asked a young person who is going to be more likely to cancel you, a Republican or a Democrat, they're going to say Democrats. Democrats don't want that stereotype that they're all about canceling. But somehow they got that reputation. And so many of the younger individuals were like, well, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way. If you misgender somebody's pronouns, you could get into a lot of trouble. You could get fired. And so meanwhile, we're seeing Gen Zs call people by their first name and get chewed out. I told you a big issue a lot of people are frustrated with, are now struggling with, is when they respond to somebody, they're like, well, thank you, George. And he's like, it's Mr. Smith to you. They're like, but I didn't want to say Mr. because I didn't want to misgender. I didn't know your pronouns. And so, the pronoun thing is important for individuals who really, really feel like they want to be identified as somebody else. But that shouldn't then put everybody else in the doghouse. Remember, there was a gentleman who was applying for a superintendent job. And he didn't want to be familiar or colloquial with these two women he was writing with. So instead he said, thank you, ladies. I look forward to the interview or whatever. He did not move forward with that job pursual because they wouldn't let him move forward because he assumed they were ladies. Now, I mean, we could just ask everybody, what are your pronouns? And then I could address you as them. But you see, the younger kids, they feel like they have so much to already navigate. The last thing they want to do is lose a job because they use sir or madam. It's confusing to them. We're taking things, and I've said that, I go, look, we have a lot of fish to fry. We have a lot of things to work on in this world. Okay, we want to stop polluting our planet. We want to make sure our planet is safe. We also don't want to do stupid where we have lithium-ion batteries all over the place. Yeah, I mean, so we have a lot of work. We have national security. We have our health to work on, and it looks like the younger individuals are feeling like they don't have a home in one party. So that party needs to kind of take a look and go, why is that? 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Yeehaw! All right, we are back in the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So we've been talking about this for years. If we are worried about our children and what they're eating, and we're worried about the health and the nutrition of America, then why are we taxpayers subsidizing junk food? It makes no sense. And the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutritious Assistance Program, allows millions of Americans, I think we have 45 million Americans using SNAP, allows them to get vegetables and lean meat and milk, etc., if they choose those groceries. But from what we're learning, chips, cookies, soda pop, sugary drinks are being able to be purchased with those. And if the whole purpose of the supplemental nutrition program is to supplement somebody's nutrition, then it's already null and void. That's not nutritious. So multiple states now are looking at the supplemental nutrition assistance program and gleaning non-nutritious foods from them, or unhealthy. We aren't even talking about non-nutritious. We're talking about straight up unhealthy foods. So Arkansas became the first state on Tuesday to submit a waiver to the U.S. Department of Agriculture asking for permission to change their SNAP program to ban soda pop and candy. Separately, Indiana and Idaho announced their intentions to seek similar waivers. Now, according to Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders of Arkansas, she said 1/3 of our state has diabetes or is pre-diabetic. The current system actively encourages and subsidizes unhealthy, high-processed, and addictive products. This is being reported by The Hill. So, seeing the USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins was also in a joint press conference, and they want to change the state SNAP program as part of a broader effort to combat chronic disease. They want to make America healthy again. And why should we be using taxpayer dollars to buy things that have absolutely no nutritional value? Now, I thought SNAP already had limits. I didn't realize, even though we spoke and we presumed and we guessed that people could buy potato chips and junk food and on these cards, The fact that 3 states are like, we're going to be banning soda and candy means this is probably very widespread, which means we are spending millions of dollars a month for people to get soda pop and candy when they really should be using that money for vegetables, fish, etc. Now, I told you the WIC program in Nevada years ago was such where when you went grocery shopping, there was a sign on the food like, this milk is a part of WIC. This chicken is a part of WIC. So you could grab the actual chicken, you could grab the milk. When you go up to the front, you show that you are WIC eligible. So you are actually taking home the chicken, the vegetables, the milk, the whole grains. I don't understand why that's not happening, why that program doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it does. But, and I understand it's easier to do everything electronic. Just, whatever you want to buy, we're going to give you money for a few $100s a month. But the reason why it was that way decades ago was because we could then ensure that family was taking home to their kids chicken and milk and vegetables and fruit. Because the whole purpose of this supplemental nutrition assistance program is to make sure those who are at poverty level or just barely above poverty level are still feeding their families and getting nutritious foods. And somehow the program snuck in sugary crap. And that's not right. Taxpayers don't want to pay for that. And the families shouldn't be feeling, and maybe part, and I'm not saying that SNAP recipients are taking advantage. We spoke about this. When you go to a grocery store, the frozen food section or these packaged meals end up being cheaper than you trying to buy raw, fresh products. Every time I go to get groceries to cook dinner, it's at least $100. No wonder people want to go to McDonald's or go to Wendy's and get their $2.99 package deal or whatever meal. So if those individuals are trying to feed a family and they don't feel their SNAP benefits they might be buying things that are cheaper, just to get the calories into their family. But it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be having to choose between unhealthy, fake processed food and healthy food. Then SNAP is failing and we need to rebuild it from scratch. But if we aren't necessarily handing out the celery or the lettuce or the spinach, and saying this is a part of WIC or this is a part of your SNAP, you get access. It used to say one per family, and so you would go up and then and maybe it was the grocery stores that complained because that was a lot of work trying to say no, you can't have 2 chickens, you can only have 1. But right now, and I've seen it too at grocery stores. I'm seeing just sugary cereals and sugary pop and candies and M&Ms and they're using their SNAP card. And I'm like, why am I paying for that? Not to mention junk food is getting expensive. Soda pop is ridiculously expensive now. Now, that's a good thing because people are buying less, but a 2-liter bottle used to be 99 cents 10 years ago. Now, a 2-liter bottle is $2.99. So we are spending more money on soda pop than we ever have. And why? There's no nutritional value. So the states, again, are Arkansas, and then I believe Indiana, and I forgot the third. I apologize. I just said it. Indiana and Idaho. So I don't know if other states are going to follow, but Governor Sanders of Arkansas said restricting unhealthy items for food stamps shouldn't be seen as limiting choices for the nearly 350,000 residents in the state who rely on it. She said it's more about ensuring taxpayer money is spent wisely and trying to limit the downstream spending on chronic diseases. I don't see how anybody, Democrat or Republican, would be against something like this. It seems like a no-brainer. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is for nutritious things. I can't see where they could be any criticism, but there is. You see these headlines saying SNAP is going to limit food access. You see what they do? You see how they play around and you're like, oh my God, these kids aren't going to get their spinach? They're not going to get their bananas? No. It's the junk food. Make the headline correct. We don't need to make this very dramatic. And the funny thing is, you know, if you are a politician, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you don't want to be accused of trying to poison your constituents. And in a way, soda pop and candy poison people. The sugar is bad. It fuels cancer. It fuels diabetes. It fuels mood disorders. You know, I mean, right now I'm eating this little thing of fruit. I kind of ate a lot of it. It has like some kiwi and pineapple. I mean, that's sugary. I'm already feeling a little bit of a sugar buzz just from the fruit. We don't have to also have candy on top of that. And I don't understand why there's any debate on this. And why only 3 states? Where's all the other states? I think every single state should have, and maybe it's because we all thought that this was already a part of SNAP. Who would have thunk that food stamps included, M&Ms? And I'm sorry, I like M&Ms. They're one of my favorite candies. So I think all 50 states need to do this, and it's about flipping time because our kids and our Americans deserve healthy food. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
We depend on our drinking water supply daily, but where does that water come from? Your water provider encourages you to get to know your local water source so together we can protect and preserve it. The investments we make as a community to protect our water source now ensure we have a sustainable drinking water supply for the future. Visit drinktap.org to learn more. This message is brought to you by the American Water Works Association and your local water provider.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. Totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So many of you have been, commenting and emailing and sending questions and comments about the whole transgender athletes, which I really think bipartisanly many individuals agree that biological men should not be participating in female sports. It's really a minority of individuals who are advocating for that. Yet it has gotten to the point where academia or states like Maine are bucking, public officials as well as their constituents as it pertains to that. People think, well, it's just a Republican thing for us, for people and us to want to object to biological male participating in a sport. No, actually, the average Democrat that has a female athlete feels the same way. Yet here we are, and it's a big headline. One of the reasons why this has gone on so long is because it got tethered to other causes. Okay, this is a slam dunk. It should be completely. It doesn't make any sense. Biological males have an advantage. Just because they identify as a girl doesn't mean they now get to be in that sport, trying to win an Olympics. Then get all the money, get all the deals. And the not what's the word for it, when endorsements. I mean that's I think the majority of people agree with that. Even many sports authorities do. But what Democrats have done is tethered it to other causes so that if you reject that, you look like you're anti everything that has to do with the LGBTQAI plus community. And that's not right. But that's what they did. And so if, now it also includes, well, what happens if you have somebody, bullied in a bathroom and they want to be safe in a bathroom? They can't go to a bathroom where they feel safer. That's why I said you can have single sex bathrooms. There's unisex bathrooms. The bathroom issue is actually easy to handle. You don't have to necessarily put a biological male into a female bathroom. No, you don't have to do that. You could have single-sex stalls, single-sex bathrooms, and this way a girl's locker room is her locker room, a boy's locker room is their locker room. And if you really have somebody who is identifying as another gender, then they can use the single-sex bathroom. Or everybody has the option of not having to shower in front of people and use a single-sex bathroom. That's fixable. You don't have to tether both issues together. Well, then you're also anti-LGBTQAI plus rights. Listen, I have family members, extended family members in the LGBTQAI plus community. All right, this is not something that all LGBTQAI plus members are advocating for. Do you think they want the whole discussion turned and changed? And then on top of that, a big topic that also got combined with this whole discussion is transitioning and taxpayer dollars and children getting transitioned before they even understand what puberty is or understand what they'll be giving up or the health risks. So, they do that where everything, just like these bills. You're against Obamacare, so you're against physical exams. I'm not against physical exams. I'm not against pre-existing conditions being covered. I'm against the 2,200-page bill and how it ruined the healthcare system. But that's what they do. So that if you're against one thing, you're against all of it. And no, can't do that. We just spoke about the SNAP benefits. If you are anti-SNAP benefits paying for junk food, that doesn't mean you're anti-SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Program. That means actually you're pro people getting nutrition. But that's the way the media, and that's the way these extremists try to make you, shall we say, mar you or scarlet letter you or brand you. I mean, look at how people feel fearful on college campuses saying they want the hostages to come home. And they want Hamas to release the hostages. So you're anti-Palestinian? No, I am anti-Hamas and murderous, rapist, baby beheading mothers. That's who I'm against. Why are you lumping Palestinians into that? I understand some Palestinians who were not Hamas joined them in the attack. But you see, you get lumped. Everybody then gets lumped into one thing or another, and you can't just say, look, this is what I'm for and this is what I'm against. So biological men should not be in girls' sports, period. It's been proven that they have different body physiques. They have different abilities. It basically annihilates women's chances to compete. All that work we put into women's having sports where they could compete and be able to, enjoy sports like men get annihilated when you now start mixing men into the women's sports. If you want to have co-ed volleyball teams, if you want to have co-ed teams, that's something you could create. But the reason why we don't have co-ed teams is because people get hurt. So, apparently Attorney General Pam Bondi has now announced legal action against Maine for refusing to ban transgender athletes from participating in women's and girls' sports. So, because they are not protecting women, Attorney General Bondi said this is a public safety issue, and now they are announcing legal action. Now, interestingly, this article being written by USA Today says that the Bondi is joined by administration officials and anti-trans activists. How is that anti-trans? You protecting women in sports and saying, look, a trans athlete can still compete, but with their biological sex. A trans athlete still has access to sports. It just, they're going to have to be with their biological sex. But you see, they're making it as, well, you're anti-trans. As far as I'm concerned, any adult who wants to identify as how they want to identify is their choice. But when it comes to a child that can't give informed consent and there's going to be medical intervention, we need to protect them. They can't give consent. And when you hear these detransitioners saying, I would have liked my breasts back so I could breastfeed, I would like my fertility back, I would like to get my height back that I lost during puberty because of the puberty blockers, and they all say the same thing. They didn't understand because they were too little. You can't give inform. If a child wants to have a medical procedure, with the exception of her being pregnant and emancipated, they cannot do it without a parent. The parent has to give consent. So why are we approaching kids without their parents' knowledge or letting their parents, both parents, be a part of the decision process as it pertains to something as serious as transgender transitioning? So, my recommendation for us to move forward as a country is separate the issues. When you really break down the simple issues, there's a lot more bipartisanship and more people agree. But in order to get certain things pushed through, many politicians or activists try to lump and tether everything together so that it is harder to reject. But the problem is you're losing people. You're losing people in your party. You're losing elections, and you're not doing what the Constitution says, where you give people their rights, and you don't inhibit them from having life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.